having the confidence in myself and knowing that I can do it and taking that, leap of faith, I guess you can call it. And so that they know they have a voice and they have a say, but in there, you have already set boundaries up. So the kids can know that, okay, I can, be home between, the biggest advice I think I would give is do not worry what other people think. And that I watch our youth today and, they on social media, they worry about how many likes they get.
So folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording, and we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak, and here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future, and we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. So folks, we are joined by Carlamay Sheremata, who is a former police officer with over 2 decades of experience, including 8.5 years as a school resource officer. She is the author of Youth Truth, Engaging in Conversations That Can Change Lives. Interesting book, isn't it? And drawing from her deep insights into youth struggles, she empowers parents and educators to foster empathy, build trust, and tackle tough topics effectively. And today we are going to have an interesting conversation with her, breaking the silence while unlocking meaningful conversations with the youth. But before we get started, here is an exciting twist. As always, let us tickle our guest's brain first. So, Carlamay, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words, and I'll mention a few. I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. If you're ready, let's get started.
Okay.
All right. Here comes my first word: curiosity.
A child.
Invention.
Creative mind.
Future.
Bright.
Universe.
Jesus.
Leadership.
Impact.
Success.
Personal fulfillment.
Innovation.
Meaningful value.
Youth.
Future.
Communication.
Listening.
And here comes the last word from my side: role model.
My mom.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being so spontaneous. I loved all your responses in the first rapid fire round. There is one more rapid fire round toward the end of the episode, so stay tuned. And first of all, Carlamay, how are you doing today? And it is awesome to have you part of our journey. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you so much. I'm doing awesome today, and I'm so excited to be a part of this journey today.
Same here, and let's get started. So we will begin with your guiding voice. So Carlamay, talk to us about who is your guiding voice.
Well, for me, honestly, my guiding voice is the Holy Spirit, is Jesus Christ. And that is something that has guided me since I was young, and I was raised in a Christian home. And that's who I listen to, even if it's the tiniest, smallest voice or that gut in your stomach feeling. It's the Holy Spirit for me talking.
All right. And also talk to us about your success mantra, as in top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
Oh, wow. Let's see. The top 3 things for me have been my family, has been a big part, just the support and love community that they've built. Again, prayer has been a huge contribution for my success, just finding out, where I should be going and what I should be doing. And then I think for me too, it's having the confidence in myself and knowing that I can do it and taking that, leap of faith, I guess you can call it, especially coming out of policing and going into a completely different world of entrepreneurship and authoring a book and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. So, Carlamay, I'm curious to understand why you started focusing on communicating with youth. So, any reason to get into this particular path?
Well, as you had mentioned, I was a school resource officer for 8.5 years. And what that entailed is it was a police officer in a high school. And so I'm in Canada, in Calgary, Alberta, and we had police officers in not every high school, but most high schools. And so for me, it was just beginning to build that relationship with the kids and build a relationship with the staff and the executive teams, and really kind of seeing what was missing. What did we need to bridge that gap between our youth and ourselves, as I guess the older generation and the next generation. And so many youth would come and talk to me about what was going on in their lives. And I really started realizing that the youth were missing that feeling of belonging, and they were missing that feeling of being heard and being listened to. So that's kind of where everything started. And that was probably about 16 years ago.
Okay. And okay, you said that feeling of belongingness is missing, and also they are feeling that they are unheard, right? So what are other common struggles youth face today that parents or educators often overlook?
Well, those are two big ones. The feeling of belonging, the feeling of being seen is another thing, and valued, and then being actually heard. And I think so many times we as adults, I'm going to say, and as parents, we think we are listening to what our youth are saying. But many times we have already put in our mind what we think they are saying or what they are going to say, instead of actually stopping that and really leaning in and listening and hearing what they actually are asking and saying.
All right. Also, can you share a moment from your time as a school resource officer that profoundly shaped your understanding of youth challenges?
Oh, I don't know if I can say one specific, but I think looking back, I think it's just, again, these young people coming in, and many of them are so lost. They're trying to find out who they are. They're trying to find out the boundaries, structure. There's so much going on. And then you bring in social media as well with them. And that trying to navigate through the path of social media, never mind as a parent, but now as a youth, is, that's a whole nother podcast regarding the social media side of things. But that was, I think, one of the times when I really started realizing that our youth are needing way more than I think we as parents and even educators are realizing how much they need. And so that really brought me in to kind of starting to understand and kind of realize the direction for myself, where I should be going with the whole youth, engaging in the youth and connecting with them.
Okay. And let's take a step back and talk about why do you think parents struggle to connect with their kids in today's connected world? I would say hyper connected world.
Well, I think there's two major things, and one of them was brought up with the not listening. And I think that as parents, we make assumptions about our children, and our children make assumptions about us. And then when we actually look to what these assumptions are, many times we don't come together and actually talk and communicate about what we are assuming about the other. And so that is a huge area of where I think parents are kind of struggling with that connection. And then judgment. I think that is such a huge, huge part as parents, that we need to release our judgment about our kids, because we grew up in a very different era. Even 15 years ago was very different than what it is now. And that judgment, it seems to kind of creep in many different ways that we deal with our youth and our own kids.
Yeah. So one other thing, like you said about 15 years, but I would say the generation gap is now happening between every 5 years, right? The communication style is changing and people are really different in terms of the kids, right? They are really smart, and it is not so easy to communicate with them. But yeah, thank you for sharing those. So let's move forward, and please share with me the first steps parents can take to create a safe space for meaningful conversations with their children.
Oh, safe spaces. You know what? It's taking that time. So I think as parents, we look at quality and quantity. And I think we think by giving our kids lots of time that we are giving them what they need. But I think many of us forget that it's that quality time. And so what that can look like is even the fact of, if you have a child who loves gaming and maybe you're not connecting very well on other levels, go down and ask your child to say, hey, teach you for 10 or 15 minutes how to play a game that they are playing. And, as a parent, you may hate gaming and roll your eyes every single time, the child says, come down and game with me. But if you take that time and they're teaching you, of how to game, and even if you're not actually talking about something, you've broken a barrier and created a safe space for that child now to know that they're valued. And even if you don't like gaming, you have come to kind of their level and valued something that they actually enjoy. And just that little bit of time there can open up so many doors of creating that safe space that is needed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's assume once we have that safe space, right? There can be different topics, but I'm more interested in terms of understanding some strategies that parents can use to approach sensitive topics like mental health, bullying, or even substance abuse, which is growing these days.
Yes. So some of the different strategies, of course, like we had talked about, is creating that safe space. Family time, I think dinner time is so important. Making sure all of your devices are put away, and having that quality time. So if that means saying to the kids, you know what, let's every night have 10 or 15 minutes where we have no devices. We just sit down and we talk. And if that means even just sitting in silence for a little bit, it's amazing when all of a sudden your youth will look at you and start talking about something like bullying, or even some kind of even depression. They'll start talking about maybe something that they're dealing with, or they'll say, hey, my friend is going through this. And sometimes it's a friend, but sometimes it's also them. And they just don't want to say that it's themselves that are going through it. So again, it's just taking that time for your youth to know that they have your full attention, and you're not, going through emails or something like that, but they know that right away they are going to be able to talk openly with you. And then number 2 is when they start talking about that stuff, as a parent, I say just zip your lips, because so many times we want to give advice right away. And many times our kids don't want to hear the advice. They just want to know that they can talk and somebody is going to listen. So it's hard as a parent, because sometimes we know all, just like the kids know all. But taking that time, it's amazing how these talks, even talks about suicide, talks about sex, stuff that are so hard to come forward sometimes as parents, this stuff will just open up. And it's kind of breathtaking when we sit back and watch how our kids all of a sudden just open up in that safe space.
Wonderful. Also, walk us through some practical ways to show empathy while still maintaining boundaries and also authority as a parent.
Okay, this is a good one because again, active listening is a huge way to show, just kind of show empathy, but just being able to see where your kids are at that time, then setting clear boundaries, but setting clear boundaries with compassion. And so what that can look like is offering up choices to your kids, and so that they know they have a voice and they have a say, but in there, you have already set boundaries up. So the kids can know that, okay, I can, be home between 8 and 10. So now they can choose what time they're going to come home. And something as little as that, the boundaries are set, but you've opened up the choice for them. And then kind of a last one is acknowledging what their emotions and naming their emotions. So when they come forward with talking about maybe feeling sad or upset or frustrated, be able to say, you know what? I hear that you are feeling frustrated. Can you tell me a bit more? Where is that coming from? And what are you frustrated about? And again, that allows them to open up, but you're still in that boundary of, that you and your child are still, there's still some boundaries that are in there for when you're talking about and acknowledging these emotions so that they feel safe about being able to be open with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. It makes sense actually. Wonderful tips. And my next question is more about your career. Like, did you face any challenges transitioning from being a police officer to becoming an advocate for youth and families?
Not challenges. I think the biggest thing for me is I did not have the red tape anymore that I had when I was a police officer. You had to be careful of what you said, even if it was the truth. And I find now, the impact that I can have out there, just helping families to navigate through many tough decisions, that I found has opened up a lot more. So I don't believe it was a struggle, but it's just now more, there's more openness for me to be able to be who I am and be able to have that impact that I would really love to have.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Carlamay, this has been fabulous conversation so far, and it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode, which means we need to kick off this second rapid fire round. Are you ready for it?
Okay, let's go.
All right, here comes my first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It would say, be kind because you never know what somebody else is going through at that time.
Oh, I love it. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
Oh, wow. You know what? I'm going to say brilliance because for me, I talk about each of us has a diamond inside of us, and many times our diamonds are tarnished. And all it takes is one person to polish the little part off, and it allows us to shine. And I believe everybody, no matter who you are, has a diamond and can shine in so many different ways. So brilliance is my one word for myself.
Awesome. And one book every parent should read.
Okay. My book, The Youth Truth, Engaging in Conversations That Can Change Lives. I believe, and heard from other readers of it, that it is one book that every parent, every teacher, every grandparent, a person who has any kind of youth in their life should read, because it goes through all the hard conversations and stories that we deal with and that kids are dealing with, no matter what country you're in, they're dealing with in schools all over. And social media has brought it even now higher. And it's so much easier now to, it's harder to deal with, but easier to get hands on now with the youth. So I think Youth Truth is one of the top books to read as a parent.
All right. And then your favorite stress relief activity.
Huh. You know what? Walking and reading are two of my favorite ones.
And what is the most important value to instill in children?
Number one is empathy. I think that we have lost this part with our kids, and social media has not helped. But empathy is so important to have, to just always put yourself in other people's shoes. And again, you never know what people are going through or what they've been through.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
before judging, just to make sure that we've got that empathetic side.
Okay. And share a lesson you learned from your kids.
Never judge a book by its cover, because you never know.
Okay. And one thing you miss about being a police officer.
Oh, you know, I think the biggest thing is the adrenaline rush that I would get. And some days I'll be driving and I watch a police car zoom by me really fast, lights and sirens on. And inside I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're going to this call or this kind of call. And I kind of miss that part about being a police officer.
Interesting. So, what is harder between writing a book or starting a hard conversation?
Okay, this one is interesting. So I think both kind of have the hardness. Writing a book, you think you can sit down and just write it, but there's many times you think you know what you're going to write, and you sit and you stare at a blank screen and nothing is going to come out. So that's on that side. Having a hard conversation, I think that's just, I believe both of them are just as hard, because sometimes starting that hard conversation, we don't want to jump in because we worry about, are they going to be friends with us, or are our kids going to like us, or what are people going to think if we bring this forward? So I think both of them have their hardness about them.
Okay, fair enough. And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire round. What advice would you give your own younger self?
Oh, the biggest advice I think I would give is, do not worry what other people think. And that, I watch our youth today, and, they, on social media, they worry about how many likes they get, how many friends they have on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. But yet when it comes down to it, it's so hard not to worry about what people think. But as you get older, you really realize it doesn't matter what people think, because what is inside and in your heart is what matters, and what you believe is what matters. And just to take that step forward and go.
I love it. All right. So after that amazing second rapid fire round, it's time for us to flip back to the mainstream. So, Carlamay, what advice would you give to parents whose children seem completely closed off?
Number one, never give up. Because again, you don't know deep down inside what your kids are thinking or going through, or something, the littlest thing could have triggered something with them that they have completely shut down, and it may have nothing to do with you. So just never give up, and start slow. Start even the things of good morning, good night, or letting them know, I'm here if you want to talk, and I will not give advice. So you can just talk and I will listen. So I think that's very, very important for them to know.
All right. Impressive. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and it's been a great conversation, and I look forward to hosting you again in future. And how is your experience being hosted on The Guiding Voice?
I love this. I love the fact of just the education piece of side, and how just through your questions, there's so much information that can be relayed and come out. So thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you. And friends, that was our episode with Carlamay Sheremata. Before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you haven't already subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe from wherever you have tuned in. Also, if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like the GV. Now it's time for us to hop into the trivia segment. And today's trivia is about youth and communication. First one is listening versus talking. Studies reveal that youth are 40% more likely to open up if they feel genuinely listened to rather than judged or advised. I think Carlamay also mentioned that. And second is average parent child conversation time. On average, parents spend only 8 minutes a day in meaningful conversation with their children. And while teenagers spend up to 7 hours daily on screens, which is so whopping. And third is first line of support. According to surveys, 60%, 67% of teens turn to their friends for emotional support, while only 20% turn to their parents first. Alright, so these are the things which I wanted to share. But before you go away, do let me know what is working very well in case if you are having very good conversation with your children, if you're already a parent. I'd love to hear and learn from you guys, and looking forward to see your comments. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you found this episode on audio platforms or social media platforms, you can comment there as well. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. So folks, until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.